Welcome to the Eddie Hyatt Podcast. I'm your host and teacher, Eddie Hyatt, and I'm glad to be back with you today as we continue talking about life changing lessons from the book of Acts. And I want to continue on the theme we were looking at yesterday because it is such an important theme. And I think I expressed it something like this: don't allow a good cause to take you away from your divine call. There's a difference in a cause and a call. And the church and the world are filled with good causes. But a good cause may not be your divine call. And we were using the example of the apostles where the church was growing, it was flourishing, multitudes coming to Christ there in the early chapters of Acts. And one of the things they did, they looked after the widows. The widows would have been, uh, a- along with orphans, the most vulnerable in their society, and they were looking after these people. But the apostles, they didn't have time, so they said, they called the people together, and they said, you're going to have to choose some people, choose 7 men to look after this business so that we can give ourselves continually to prayer and the ministry of the word. Yeah, this is a good cause. We need to do this. It's God's will that this be done. But here is our call, and we've got to give ourselves to it. So, my friends, do not allow a good cause take you away from your divine call. So, I want to look at today to buttress this. I'm going to look at a scripture in Matthew, and it's chapter 11, beginning at verse 28, and it's the words of Jesus. And he said, on this particular day, he said to the people, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So he begins by saying, come to me. Actually, there are three words of responsibility that he gives to us. The first is to come to me. The second one is to take my yoke upon you, and the third one is learn from me. So we're to come to him, we're to take his yoke, and we're to learn from him. Now, he says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden. I remember, as a young believer reading that, and just assuming, oh, these are people that are burdened down with sin and rebellion and so on. But no, he's talking to Jewish people, and these are people who are burdened down with good causes, who are burdened down with religious obligations. By the time of Jesus, the rabbis had identified 613 commands in the Torah. 613. Now, many of this were very arbitrary and trivial and so on. Uh, uh, for example, let me give you an example. There was there was one rabbi, and he was commenting on the Bible, the Sabbath law. And in the Old Testament, it says that there was to be no work done on the Sabbath. And this rabbi said that if you spit in the dirt on the Sabbath, you have you have broken the law. You have not kept the Sabbath. Why? Because he explained that when your spittle hit the ground, that it caused the dirt fly up on each side of it, which was equal to plowing. And therefore, if you spit on the ground on the Sabbath day, you had broken the Sabbath law. And so these are the kind of trivial things the rabbis had come up with, and they had identified 613 commands. I don't have um, the exact numbers in front of me, but there was a large number that were uh, uh, positive commands, that these are things you must do, I think it was 300 and some were negative commands. These you don't do, but a total of 613. So the people were burdened down. Oh my goodness, burdened down with religious obligation. And the Pharisees, they preached this and they called it they to get people to keep all 613 of these commandments, memorize them and keep them. Can you imagine such a thing? And they called it taking upon yourself the yoke of the law. Take upon yourself the yoke of the law. Wow. Make a commitment today that you're going to keep all 613 of these commandments. Now, Jesus referred to this in another place, and I don't have the passage in front of me, but he rebuked the Pharisees because he said, you compass sea and land to make one proselyte. In other words, you will go out of your way. You will extend yourself to make one proselyte, to make one disciple and follower to yourself. And when you're finished with him, he's more a child of hell than you are. Wow. So we know that the Pharisees, they were great evangelists, uh, passionate evangelists. And what were they calling people to do? Take upon themselves the yoke of the law. And so Jesus says to them, to the people who are burdened down with good causes, burdened down with religious obligation, he says, "Come to me, oh my friends." This is the word for the religious people of the world. You need to come to Jesus. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. In the Greek, it literally says, I will rest you. In other words, the rest is not something he gives us that is apart from himself. The rest is something he does to us, that he does for us. And so he literally says, come to me and I will rest you. Take my yoke upon you. Not the yoke of the law. You need to take my yoke upon you. You need to get hooked up with me. You need to get yoked up with me. You need to get in a relationship with me. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Oh, my friends, how we need to call people into a dynamic, intimate relationship with Jesus Christ. Take his yoke upon you. Get yoked up with him. And of course, this is a picture of two animals who are often yoked together in order to give more power and force in pulling maybe a wagon, a plow, or whatever it might be. And so, if you get two animals together, you're doubling the power, the pulling power, and the force. And so Jesus says, if you'll get yoked up with me, you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And the reason his yoke is easy, excuse me, pardon me while I cough the cough. So I got a little saliva in my throat, my windpipe. When you get yoked up to him, you learn to move when he moves. If he's moving, you move with him. If he's moving, you don't move. You're going to get a sore neck. And if he's not moving and you're trying to move, then you're going to get some bruises and calluses on your shoulders. But if you learn to just move with him, get yoked up with him, and you learn to move when he moves, like the Old Testament children of Israel, they were led through the wilderness by a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. And when the cloud would move, they would move. When the cloud stopped, they would stop. It was simple as that. And Jesus said, if you'll get yoked up with me and just move with me, you will find rest for your souls, because he does the bulk of the pulling. The bulk of our salvation is upon his shoulders, and we have to get yoked up with him and learn to move with him as he moves. What a wonderful opportunity we have in Jesus Christ. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. My friends, the world does not need more religion. The world does not need more Christian religion. The world needs Jesus. We need more of Jesus. There's There's a chorus we used to sing years ago. More about Jesus. More about Jesus. More of his saving fullness see. More of his love who died for me. So, my friends, get yoked up with Jesus. Uh, he will show you what his purpose is for you, and you will be able to avoid getting caught up in the trap that so many are caught up in today in Christendom, where a good cause has robbed them of the divine call which they should be pursuing. Hey, this is Eddie Hyatt. God bless you. Check out my website, eddiehyatt.com, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless you.